Welcome to Pod Mavericks presents what I've decided is going to be a Mavs party. Because guys, look, I know everybody wanted to jump into the top four, but the odds on something like that are simply not in the Dallas Mavericks' favor. They never have been. And as far as I'm concerned, during my time watching the Mavericks for the rest of my life, they probably never will be. So that they kept the pick in what feels like a very tense situation. Now that we've had about a half hour to reflect, I'm good with this. And so we're doing our live show here, our normal live show that I've been doing, after games, where I would like for you guys to come up and pitch me your take. I posted the in the YouTube channel, I posted the link which gets you in here. You can come up here on stage stage, that's what it used to be called when it was green room. And you can give your take, and then we will maybe go watch, hopefully, the Nuggets beat the crap out of the Lakers. So coming up first from across the Atlantic Ocean, my friend Hyperion. What's going on tonight, man?
Oh, hello, Kirk. Happy birthday, because you had your birthday.
So I did. Thank you.
I think. I heard... I am very happy Dallas Mavs kept the 10th pick. I wanted more. I thought the NBA values Luka a little bit more. I don't know how the Spurs got the number one, but they are a very lucky franchise. Congratulations to them, and congratulations to Dame Lillard, because the NBA thought he needs a little bit of help, and they will get help with the number 3, I think. So right. I will be for me, it's very intriguing that Dallas has this pick, and I will be watching what they will do with it. I would keep it and draft somebody, because I think it's a better timeline with Luka to draft somebody and help him in the next 1 or 2 years to find himself and play with Luka for many years, than to give it up for, I don't know, for a half a star. We will see.
Yeah, I also just have always liked the NBA draft. So depending on how long you've listened to anything we've done at Mavs Moneyball, which is probably not as long as Luka's been on the team, my co-host Josh, who is now here in the show as well with us, he will tell you that after about 8 games of watching Dennis Smith Jr., I was like, this isn't it. This is not going to be a thing. Dennis Smith is fine, but he's not a franchise changer. And immediately tuned my attention in for Luka Doncic. I obviously didn't do anything like that this year, but there's a couple of players in this draft that I have been following for some time. And so I'm at the moment, I'm cautiously optimistic. That's what I feel about things. Like, if they would have lost this pick, I think we all would have been on, sports fan suicide watch, where there just would have been a lot to be worried about. But at the moment, I am pulled back from the edge, because this last season was just so terrible. And right now I feel pretty good about stuff. So do you have any more thoughts for us?
No, I am just happy that Dallas kept the pick. I just happy that we can celebrate a bit, and hope that Dallas finally can do some good moves to help the roster.
Well, thank you so much for kicking off the show. I appreciate you.
Okay, all the best to you both.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
All right, so right now we have my guy Josh So Joe, you've had 20 minutes to collect while I posted our live show where we've got some posts up. We have some things cooking. There'll be lots of content over at Mavs Moneyball. But what are your sort of now that you've
lost you there for a second. Well, I assume you're going to ask me kind of my thoughts here before you.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry about
okay.
my
Sorry.
internet.
I should have just kept going. Got to improvise on the spot there. I mean, my thought is it's kind of two things. One is, we're not insiders. So when we say like trade the pick for a win now player, what is that? Like we can keep saying win now player, but what's the player? And right. I don't know. And it's not that I'm necessarily against that line of thinking. It's just that I don't know what the player is, just as much as we don't know what the draft pick is going to be, quite frankly, either. But with trading something like a draft pick, a top 10 pick, and if we're being realistic, this is going to be this should be the last time they have a draft pick this high while Luka Doncic is in Dallas. And if it's not, then oh my God, we've got some other things we got to tell you. The house is on fire. We can't talk about a leaky sink. But so like you just have to maximize it. And to me, it's just like I've watched how these other teams build, the other teams that aren't like LA and Miami and New York, and these other teams that are not these huge, the 3 or 4 big market teams that usually get the free agent meetings and all that kind of stuff. The Mavericks aren't one of those teams. They aren't a team that is there's only like 3 destinations in the NBA, and they're not one of them. So how do those other teams build and contend? They build through the draft, making shrewd moves and valuing draft picks, developing young talent, and then, making solid trades. It's just, I know with the draft pick, at least I can get something, I'm going to get a young, talented player that I can invest in. Why would I just don't see like trading it for like DeAndre Ayton. I just don't get it. The way the new CBA is, it's going to be harder to trade picks. It's going to be harder to keep your core together. A rookie, like a 4-year rookie, cheap rookie contract. Like I just see a lot of value in trying to get something out of that other than trading for maybe a really big contract and a player that has a shorter window. And I feel like it's just repeating mistakes over and over again. Like they got in this mess because they tried to short circuit the build.
That's
with
right.
The Kristaps Porzingis trade. So like, I just want them to build organically. I just want them to add talent. Don't worry about the Luka thing because, quite frankly, I said this on our live show, the lottery live show. If they were worried about that, then they should have done different things the last 4 years. Like they're kind of
at least the last year or two. Like,
yeah, like you're worried about it now. Like good Lord, like you waited until it's almost you can't really do anything now. Like I just don't worry about that. Whether you're going to keep Luke or not, just take the path of what you think is going to build you a contender. And don't think about the scary timeline or the scary thoughts because you kind of let go of that rope years ago. And you can't go back. You can't go back in the past and change the 2019 offseason. You can't go back and change the KP trade. You can't go back and change all these other mistakes that they've made. So they could, if they make a trade for a player I like, I mean, I'm going to be on board. It's not that I'm against it. Right. It's just I can't project the value of that 10th pick in terms of what it's going to net as a player because I'm not an insider. I don't know what these teams are thinking, but I do know that teams can build contenders through picks as high as 10. We just saw the Warriors dynasty start they drafted a 7th pick, Harrison Barnes, and Klay Thompson was the 11th pick. You see teams pick players from there that turn into championship caliber starters all the time. Of course, there's the path that you can see that's also the Warriors that a user mentioned to me on Twitter, which they had Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody, and now they're kind of screwed because those picks didn't work out. And yeah, that's the downside. The picks might not work out because you don't know for sure that these 18-year-olds are going to turn into who you want them to be. But I just feel like that path feels more stable to me than making another trade for a veteran when you've got a team that I don't think needs veterans. It needs talent, and it needs younger talent and closer to Luka's timeline. Obviously, Ayton is close; he's still young, but I've just seen what he's been doing, and I just don't. I would just rather take the dice roll on something new that they can develop. And quite frankly, Hardy and Green have developed really nicely over the last 2 years. I kind of want to give this Mavericks team a chance to develop some actual young talent, and see how it goes.
Well, and then there's some kind of more practical effects of when you're in 10 and you're saying, oh, and you broadcast that you want to trade out. And just before I move on any further with my thought, first, guys, if you could do me a favor, go ahead and like the stream. That sort of stuff will promote it into for people who are searching for Mav stuff. You can come in here and go ahead and subscribe as well. We've seen a nice almost a 10% growth in subscribers over the last week, which is fantastic. I'm really grateful. Appreciate that. And anybody who wants to come up on stage, what you want to do is click into the waiting room that we have to the pinned comment in the YouTube channel. It'll take you to a different place where you'll be waiting. Josh and I'll bring everybody up here, or at least I will. Josh might go to bed at some point. It's early in the evening though. And we will let everybody get a chance to talk that wants to. I'll really try to do that tonight just because this is one of those kind of special nights. In terms of practical stuff, when you look at who's ahead of them and what those teams and where those teams are and sort of their builds, where you have the Magic who have the pick after Dallas and the 6th pick. You have the Portland Trailblazers who were kind of in a similar position to the Mavericks, where they're very much hoping to move up to number 1. Who frankly just have better trade. They just have more trade opportunities than the Mavericks have. The Mavericks don't have good contracts. We're going to be hearing a lot over the next several days about how Tim Hardaway is a plus contract. I mean, if we can convince somebody of that, fantastic. I just don't know if that's really going to be a thing. The Mavericks' 4 best players, or at least 4 most attractive players, including Kyrie, who's not currently under contract, all those players are guards. If Matthew Phillips, who's waiting to chat, really he made this point about a month and a half ago, and I've been thinking about it the whole time, that Josh Green is a guard. And so it's like him and Jaden Hardy, both guards. So it's like, what are you going to do? And I'm not trying to be like pessimistic here, but like I'm looking at Tankathon's like initial draft, and it's like they got the Mavericks taking Grady Dick at 10. And I don't see that zero chance that I see the Mavericks taking a power forward a small forward who is not great at defense, but is like a heck of an offensive player. That doesn't help them in the short term. But that's where it's like this conversation can quickly get very frustrating, because if the Mavericks had done what they, built a little more slowly, they simply wouldn't be in this position. It's just that Luka supercharges stuff. Frankly, the same way Victor Wembanyama might supercharge stuff for the Spurs, which puts them on a bit of a course here. So
yeah, and to follow up, it's like, I think I would be more open to trading the 10th pick if they had accumulated assets better in these last 4 years. And then it's like, okay, now let's make the all-in move because, we've been slowly building and drafting players and acquiring good contracts. Let's cash in with this pick. We feel like now's the time. But like if they trade this 10th pick, like, they're not going to have another draft pick as good as this to trade for a while. They don't have I think they can trade only other pick they can trade besides 10 is like a 2029 or something, or I can't remember whichever one, but it's like way down the road. They still owe pick to New York, which will presumably, cross your hearts, is going to be given to the Knicks next year if things go well in terms of the team's success. But again, it's just like, it's just scary to trade 10 when they're never going to get something as good as this type of draft pick for the next 4 to 5 years if things go well.
That's right.
So it just scares me to just go ahead and trade for another one piece. I just don't know. And if they get something good for it, then I change my tune. It's just I don't know. This is the part that sucks. I'm not Dalton Trigg. I can't do the fake trade thing. I don't have that
right.
train. I don't have it. I don't know what teams like. I have no idea what the trade market's like. But I do know I've watched teams build through the draft and get good players and be better than the Mavericks are. Like all the teams that were above the Mavericks in 2018.
Right. No, that's true. Okay, so I'm going to start bringing folks up. Josh, you can hang out as long as you want, and then we can keep talking in between. Coming up first is my man Micah. So if we bring you up on stage, I normally like to chit chat with folks for a while, but because I already have 10 people waiting, we're going to try to move through folks a little quicker than normal tonight. So do not take offense if I inadvertently give you the old hook. So Micah, what's up? There's Micah. He's walking around his house. We had a ceiling fan a second ago. What's up, my guy? Nope. Micah's connection sometimes is not ideal, but that is the way of things. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to my man Brandon. Brandon, what's up? Brandon, how you doing?
Craig, been a long time. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us tonight. What's going on?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
So what are you thinking tonight?
Yeah. I was basically looking at the hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, connection's a little bad though. First two guests, really an ideal streaming situation here, where two of my favorite guys are having issues tonight. Okay, so we're gonna go to my guy John, and then we'll go to Matthew. Hey John, what's up, guy?
What's up? Is my internet fine?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you see
Yeah,
me?
though,
Okay, great.
If you start like chopping me out on purpose just to psych me out, don't do that.
Yeah.
So what's up?
Yeah. So like as soon as the 10th pick came in, I was in a trade it for DeAndre Ayton mode. But Josh, you've won me over. Just take like a good NBA ready player, as NBA ready and good. I mean, as good as you can get at the 10th pick. And like I don't know. Is Kyrie? Let's assume they can re-sign Kyrie, which is a big if. But like Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, Hardy, the 10th pick. Maybe you can trade Tim Hardaway for something. Like I don't know. I just want this team to be fun. Sure. And as soon as I started thinking like they re-sign Kyrie, they trade the 10th pick and some pieces for some contracts for DeAndre Ayton, it would not be a fun team. I don't think.
I mean, what pieces did the DeAndre Ayton thing we talked about a little bit during the draft reaction, like the immediate reaction show, just because we were trying to kind of kill time at the start. And I just don't see it as being possible. I just he makes a lot of money, and the Mavericks books are already murderous, and it would require the Suns to take back some tough money as well. I just don't see it. And I suppose there's always a chance the Mavericks like covet him, have for a while, whatever the terminology we want to call it is. But it seems like a long shot at this point, unless the Suns were to get desperate for something. And I don't see them being desperate with a former number 1 overall pick.
And also, I mean, Luka, Kyrie, Ayton, I mean, that's your cap for the next 5 years.
You're done.
That's it. You're done. Yeah, that's your team. You're trying to slot in minimum guys, undrafted guys, your mid-level exceptions, unless they make a trade with Josh Green or Hardy, maybe. But, in terms of your cap, that's your cap. Like, that's your team. So
yeah, and your team is one guy who really loves to play basketball and two guys that I'm not sure how much they care about playing. I'm not sure what their end game is.
Right.
And yeah, I just think either keep the pick or if they could trade down for maybe and get 2 picks, but I just want this team to have like good young players. Like watching the Nuggets right now, and they built around just drafting guys. They took the chance on Michael Porter Jr. and it worked, and then got Aaron Gordon and like I don't know. I want the team to be fun. And I'm so glad they kept the pick. I mean, it would be doomsday, right? Like, I mean, this could have been an awful night. At least there's something to work with. But just take somebody young could be the most. I don't, and I know nothing about the draft. And the same way y'all are not trade guys, I'm not a draft guy. I don't know who's going to be around at 10, but like, are there any guys that are NBA ready?
Yeah, but it's
NBA ready. You know what I mean? Ready-ish. Like,
yes, and I
be contributors in the next year or two.
Yes, I do think there are. It's a question of, do any of the 2 or 3 that I sort of think in that slot, do they fall? And then the real challenge, there's some of these guys, for example, like I think a guy like Cason Wallace, who's point guard from Kentucky, could probably play pretty quickly. But as I just said, the Mavericks have a bunch of guards. Like there's a guy named Bryce Sensabaugh who plays Ohio State he doesn't bring what the Mavericks need. They need a multi-talented forward. I mean, like my favorite guy is Anthony Black, and I think he probably goes in the top 7. I just don't think he fits. Like it's there. We have a long way to go, and maybe somebody will shake out during workouts that the Mavericks like. Maybe they reach and take somebody. I mean, I want to say Paul George was drafted in like the 8 to 12 range, and like he just didn't get enough eyeballs out in Fresno State. He really had he was a really good player. So it's sort of tough to say at this point. But I mean, I started the show noting that I'm glad they kept the pick, because anything other than losing the pick, this is just a much different show. It's a much different tenor. We, number one, don't have anything to talk about ever other than, oh my God, the Mavericks screwed up the past 5 years. And now we're here and we can say, all right, there's something they have to go forth.
Yeah. I mean, the need of the team is so obvious of forward, defense, rebounding, big guys somewhere in there. Like you said, they've got the guards. And so that feels nice. At least they know what the need is. I don't know if they can get that with a 10th pick and if there's somebody there, or they can trade for it. But what they need is obvious. And I like Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, and Hardy. Like, I like those 4 guys playing in those spots. Can they just find 1 to 2 other guys to fill something out and then let the role players fill in? And I don't know. I like I said, when somehow Josh, you convinced me. Sure. I was all in on go get Ayton and just let's do this thing. Sure. Luka, Kyrie, Ayton. Let's just do it with whoever. But now I'm with a half hour. I just want fun players. I want fun players. That's all I want. Yeah,
I feel that, John.
All right, guys.
Thanks for hanging out.
Good to see you guys. Yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon.
Okay, so Martin in the chat is kind of talking about how Luka is not really interested in a rebuild, yada yada yada. I want to address something real quick because this is sort of important. Actually, it's quite important. Luka next season is in year 2 of a 5-year deal where the last year is a player option. Let's just assume for the worst sake that he were to want to opt out. The opt-out year, his final year of the 4-year deal he's on then is 2025-26. So the Mavericks have, and by my estimation, this season and probably up until the trade deadline in 24-25 to try to make significant moves before any sort of trade chatter would really kick into high gear. But here's the other thing that I think we're not talking about as often. And I've had a couple of people talk to me about this beforehand. I've not talked. And Harris notes that he's going to opt out even if he stays, which is just like, and the reason why exactly, Harris, is because of money. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are up for Supermax extensions that are close to on one guy. I want to say it's Brown is like $296 million. And then Tatum's is $324 million. The difference between that and another team is, if he were to go sign as a true free agent, is north of $100 million getting left on the table. Now you're going to say to me, Kirk, he's going to force his way to another team. 2 things against that. Number 1, Mark Cuban exists. Mark Cuban is the most stubborn man in human history, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he would trade Luka even if he wanted to. Second, or even if he, it's just not something he's ever going to do. The second thing is that matching salaries becomes increasingly difficult with these guys who make this much money, because you would have to gut your roster in order to get him. Okay, coming up next is Mavs Moneyball contributor Matthew Phillips with a truly glorious mustache. Matthew, what's going on, man?
A lot. So I'm happy that the Mavs did not get the first pick, so I can fully unleash my Wemby hate as the only person on the planet who is not all in on Wemby as the greatest prospect ever, which I could not have done. Also, I want to point out a couple things. One, if the Mavs do look to go the trade route, Josh mentioned that the 2027 first is really the only one they can trade, because it is 27, because they traded 29 in the to the Nets when they got Kyrie. One of the problems with that, they basically can't protect that pick, because if they protect it, then they wouldn't be able, they can't protect it to where they can use it in 28 because then the Stepien rule comes into play. So because they can't protect it, you really don't want to be giving out 2 unprotected first in a team that might not have Luka. Like that gets real dangerous real quick. Also, since apparently Jason Kidd is the only unfireable coach in the NBA, given all the other people, his primary strength as a coach is developing young players.
Sure.
If there is any reason to take a draft pick, it is in order to let him to basically, if you're going to go with the words of the youth these days, to let him cook. Like that's what he does well, and he's done a good job of it. I mean, honestly, Josh Green has
so.
Well, Jaden Hardy. I mean, like Kidd. The one thing, if you're going to point to and say, hey, like if I was Jason Kidd's agent and I was going to sell something as a coach, and like hey, why should we make this guy coach? He develops young players well. Like they've
had nice plans for Green and for Hardy. I think that's absolutely the case.
Okay, so now I'm also going to get off my anti-Wemby take real quick so everyone can hear this. One, he went to a team that plays once a week this year in order to stay healthy. Just want to point that out because apparently no one else notices that or talks about it. He got banged up several times last year. The reason that generational prospects don't pan out is because they get hurt. Like pretty much every guy that you would say is, I mean, I don't want to rehash the Slack argument about generational prospects, but those guys, like when you look at it, like the all-time, like he's one of those guys before the draft, and Wemby is absolutely on that list. The only reason they ever don't pan out is if they get hurt, like Greg Oden.
Can I interrupt you because I need to show both you and Josh something that's going to make you upset at the same time. It's really just it's a unifier for the chat. We're going to share the Dallas Mavericks social media account. Just tweeted this. It is a photo of Mark Tatum holding the Mavericks pick, and it's the Mavericks Twitter account saying "Playing with house money, let's roll." That doesn't not send me into a blazing fury.
As you know, I like
Hey, man, I gotta hit up the Choctaw as a sponsor. They got.
I get it, but they can't make me mad about keeping the 10th pick. They can't. They can't with bad tweets. They had a terrible, I was trying not to kick the shit out of them with that terrible horseshoe passing video. And Nico is like, I want to have good vibes, but my God, it's like they're okay. Go back to your take.
Okay.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to scream at the TV.
Among other things, first off, I want to point out just real quick on that. House money has lost the theory of playing with house money has lost more people more money over the years than any other gambling strategy. That is not a thing. Just now I'll go back to my point. So he went to a team that played him once a week. On that team, he got to choose the offensive and defensive system they ran. He got to choose several of their players. He got full on NBA. He was the LeBron of that league as far as setting up everything. He was the La GM, basically. And we'll use it because it works also for him because he's French. But I don't understand how people think that's going to work with Pop. Like, I honestly, I think Pop's gone next offseason. Like, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of takes that Pop will be there forever now, and this is all of that and everything. And I understand.
No, he's old. He doesn't want to do this forever.
Like,
he probably wants to have fun once more and then get out of Dodge.
I think Pop's gone next offseason, one way or the other. Either Wemby drives him nuts or Wemby forces him out. Like,
sure. I mean, that was the same thing. Honestly, the same thing should have happened with Carlisle and Luka.
Yeah, like I think that's going to happen. And then as far as the what if Luka forces his way out thing, the Mavs are where they are because they've been worried about they've tried to skip steps and get there too quickly. And so trading this pick in order to try to short circuit any potential, development time for the pick, like being like, hey, we're going to be there. I mean, by all means, if you can get a legitimate difference maker player for him, like if you can get a person that fits offensively and is an elite defender and does all of this, I'm fine with it. But who is that person? Like hypothetically, sure. I mean, I do like coming up with fake trades, but I just don't see it. And then what the problem is, they just have to make right decisions right now. They have to make good moves. If they make good moves, it will help the team. And they have to hope that they're in a good spot in a couple of years and that they're just good. Like that's how you keep Luka is you're good. You make good moves, and you make good moves by making good individual. Like you can't make a series of good moves without making a first individual good move. And also on the list of people that we should consider drafting, there's a bunch of people that can help Dallas. Dallas needs athleticism. Dallas is in a weird spot where they're in the lottery And, we think they're close to being good, but they also are so bad at so many things that there's a lot of different ways they can get better. Like, that's a weird combo. I mentioned it in my Jarris Walker piece, but like, they can get better at so many things. And if you look at them, like, one of the under the radar guys, I think he'd probably be a trade down guy more so than just take him at their pick. But when I was watching a lot of Wemby stuff the last couple of days to see if I needed to get off of my anti-Wemby take, the wing on the Mets 92, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, but it's probably terrible. The Bilal Kulalabi is I really like I think he would be like a trade down to 15 or 16 guy, but he's extremely athletic. He's a little rusty with the jumper right now, but I mean, he shot 35% on threes this year. He is the Mikal Bridges type 6'7" guy with a 7'3" wingspan. Very, very athletic, very good defender. Like, I would be interested in him as someone who could potentially do some stuff for Dallas. Obviously, the Taylor Hendricks and Jarris Walker and stuff.
Sure.
Like, it's just it's stuff like that. Or if we go really crazy, the Mavs could draft someone at 10 and then trade later into the draft and try to get him they could try to get multiple young players. I mean, It sounds like a crazy idea for the Mavs, but
see, and I think that's how you piss off Luka, because like the further you go back, it's like trading. Like, people are like, oh, we got to trade back and get multiple guys. I'm like, this is not the NFL draft. We don't just go get the best player available. But
yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm saying like draft someone at 10 and then also trade. Like, last year they traded in to draft Hardy. They could trade for that pick. I don't know what they would trade for it, but I mean, like, he should be like late teens, mid 20s. Like, those picks are gettable if you want them. So that's really all I've got for now. I'll let other people get on and everything, but basically, I do want to be on record, and y'all can obviously vouch for this. I was the lone anti-Wemby voice for forever.
If he's really bad, I'm going to be or if he's really good, I'm going to be really mean to you. So
that's fine.
Just
I'm
know
okay with that. I think he'll be good until he gets hurt. But
thanks for hanging out, bud.
All right.
Talk soon. All right. Coming up next is Ruben, who's been waiting for a while. Ruben, what's up, my guy? You are muted. Unmute yourself there.
Love the new setup. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Thanks for joining. What's going on tonight?
Oh, no. I'm just kind of happy we were able to keep the pick. I'm not going to get too into, like, all the trade scenarios and stuff, because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to have another space for that, like for draft talk or whatnot. But I'm kind of like with Josh on it. I feel like every time the Mavs try to skip steps and stuff and try to go for like, oh, well, we're going to get this guy, or we do some dumb stuff and end up regretting it. And then we always get back to the fact that we don't draft our players. And as Josh said, like, the teams that are still left, except for like the Lakers maybe, they have guys that they were like homegrown draft picks by that team, and they are killing it for their team. So I'm kind of the sense of, hey, take who's available. I'm kind of hoping Taylor Hendricks is still there, just because I feel like that's the only thing Jason Kidd is good at, is developing. And you start seeing, you have a good young nucleus growing here, but the final boot that needs to drop is Kyrie re-signing.
Sure.
If Kyrie doesn't re-sign, then this is awful.
I really do think he re-signs, though. I mean,
I really do too. But if he doesn't, that would be a big blow. That would be, I feel like, a bigger blow than giving away our draft pick. That, at least if we would have gave it away and gave it to the Knicks and they got it, we could start, using other draft picks and some other doors would have opened. But I feel like if you don't got Kyrie with Luka, it's kind of like, oh man, like, I don't think you make it to the playoffs. I mean, you may try to, like we did this year, Luka by himself trying to do everything. But it would, at least with Luka and Kyrie, I say we are kind of like when Dirk kept making it to the playoffs, doing his steps, and it finally came all together. We didn't rush into anything. It kind of like, just happened with guys that we kind of just got. We didn't have to like force a trade or anything. Now, if we can just draft a guy, or I do see us doing this, hey, okay, maybe we don't want to use the 10th pick. let's trade back. Let's get off this contract maybe for a team to move up. We get a piece and we get off bad money and we get a pick. Maybe we do it twice, maybe, and get draft picks that we need at certain spots.
See, but that's where the challenge with this is there's been very little in the Dallas Mavericks history going back to the trade for Tyson Chandler in like 2011 that shows me anything other than linear thinking. They think 1-to-1 with what the Lakers did, for example. And Josh was like raging about this the day it happened. It's like they made multiple moves over a period of weeks to achieve an end where it was like, we're going to go here, 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 and here to get this. Where the Mavericks were like, what we're looking for is the silver bullet. And until they show me that they can do something better than that, I'm not going to believe that they can.
I would understand where you're coming from, but the only difference would be seeing what Nico did to get Jaden Hardy. Now, I'm not saying Jaden Hardy is like the rookie of the year, but that guy traded back in to get his guy. And we're kind of like, right now we're, because it's the end of the season, we're kind of still in the mind state of being mad, but we're kind of poo-pooing that move. I'm going to get that to Nico, trading back in and getting his guy. And he turned out to be a trade asset. Like he went back in and he turned into a slight trade. I'm not saying he's the biggest trade asset we have, but he picked a guy, saw his potential, and Jason Kidd did what he did. I'm just going to say if we do that with our number 10 pick, I'm willing to do that as long as Kyrie resigns. And I'm of the thought when it comes to I really want a center over a wing or whatever. We can get a wing in the draft or whatever. But I'm in the mindset I don't really need a big money wing. I mean, a big money center. I'm not of that. Maybe that's just my opinion. I don't feel like we need Aiden or Miles. It would be nice to have a Miles Turner, Aiden, or Jared Allen or somebody like that. But with the mindset of whoever Luka plays with as a big, he elevates. And I think we can say that now with Luka playing with his fifth year. This is going to be his fifth or sixth year. We can say now that whoever you put next to Luka and Luka trusts, that player will elevate stat-wise, energy-wise. So I'm not of the mindset of we need a top dollar center. Give me my 10th pick. Let's reshuffle our bullpen of centers. Please God, don't re-sign Dwight Powell. And just get some centers that clog up space, that are good defensively and can do a little bit of something. And let's keep building this young nucleus. I'm willing to do that only if we can re-sign Kyrie. Now, if Kyrie decides he doesn't want to be here, I hope they're smart enough to flip him for, whatever, some more pieces or whatever.
Thanks for hanging out, man. It's been a long time. Glad to see you in here.
Long time. I couldn't figure it out for the long
Now you can. See, us olds, and we are old, we're going to be brought into the 21st century with YouTube.
For sure. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Talk soon. Let's see here. Brian, you've been waiting, and I got a bunch of people. We're going to get to everybody. Josh, you're sitting there quietly, like steaming.
No, I'm good. I just want to let everyone get their.
That's right.
Get their
That's
takes
right.
in.
Brian, welcome to the show. What's up?
Dude, thanks for having me again. Josh, what's up? I think this is the first time I've been on while you've also been up, so nice to talk. Man, okay, so we kept the pick. That is very cool. It's a lot like you said. I'm going to make a couple of points, and I'm going to try to go quick. Just a reminder, I can curse, right?
Oh, God, yes. Fuck yes.
Awesome. Okay.
All I have to really do is make sure that this video is marked not for children.
Cool. Okay.
Which, like, kids, you want to learn about the Mavericks? This is not it's a dark place.
Actually, this is a pretty good representation. This is a great place to learn about it. But, yeah, everybody talking about 10 and some package of other things that we have for Aiden. Shut the fuck up. You do not know what you're talking about. The last time the Phoenix Suns selected 10th in the draft, they picked Jalen Smith, who they did not play for 2 years when they absolutely needed big bodies in the playoffs, especially in 2021 against Milwaukee. And then they renounced him, waived him, and dropped him off on the doorstep of like a Hardee's in Indiana, where the Pacers picked him up and nurtured him back to health. They don't care about the 10th pick. You're not getting anything of substance for the 10th pick, man. So if Aiden is here, it's because Kyrie decided he wanted to go play with his homeboy, and we signed and traded him.
And I just don't even think that happens because it hard caps them.
Right. They haven't made all of these compounding mistakes the way that we have.
Yeah.
So I have no reason to believe that if we can see that a 3-star, kind of mix isn't really going to work under the CBA, there's no reason I don't think that they can't see that. Even with their new owner wanting to come in and be splashy and like add all the stars and do all these things, he's not stupid.
Right.
Well, he's talking about hiring Isaiah Thomas, so he might be, but he can't be that stupid. Not yet, anyway. We have no evidence of that. So, yeah, shut all that up. That's not happening. Get Aiden out of your mind right now. And second point is, like you said, the Mavericks are an A to B team. They're not smart enough to plan a flight with layovers. They need a one-way, no-stop flight. They've got the 10th pick. Make the 10th pick. There are players from 1 to 32 that add talent, help this team in terms of fit, and are going to be like good, talented, coachable players that Jason Kidd is going to be able to develop and actually help this team pretty immediately. Like, nobody in the top 10, like the actual top 10, I'm not including Grady Dick. He's good, but he's not what we need.
There's something about Grady Dick I think Jason Kidd would break.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being mean.
Honestly, I think Grady Dick is made of tougher stuff. Him not being even a solid defender.
Right. That's
really
what
gonna
they
help.
need. Yeah, you can't play Luka with a bunch of negative defenders.
Even if what I think he brings offensively is going to be, it would be great here. But that's not, that's just not the mix that we need. That's
also,
not the
we can't have Mark Followell screaming Dick every 20 minutes.
No, that part I love. I wish there was another player named Dick in the draft, because I'd be like, yeah, we got to draft him. But yeah, no, there's going to be a really good player. Like, I think that the top 10-ish, I'll even go so far as to say like 11, or 11 or 12 if you want to include like Bilal Coulibaly or Leonard Miller, who I think will really help us. Whether we have Kyrie or not, whether we trade Kyrie for Aiden or not, like all 12 of those players, 11 really, I'll just say Leonard Miller, Bilal Coulibaly is kind of a reach, will help us immediately and in the future. They're all really good. They've all got 1 to 2 like NBA ready skills where they can come in and like produce pretty immediately. And like you said, the only thing Jason Kidd is worth his fucking contract for is developing younger players. Now he brings them along slower.
They've had a nice plan.
Yeah, like I thought that Jaden Hardy should have been in a little bit in the mix a little earlier than he was, but when the way they brought him along, it clearly worked. Like, we can't argue too much about it, right? So just don't fuck this up, man. Just draft a player at 10. Don't fuck it up. Draft a player. Maybe you can look at, if you think that, Nico has the chops to try trading back and adding value. And like I said, I think there are enough players in this draft to do that, even though I think last year isn't the best example, because the reason that he traded back into the second round to get Jaden Hardy and got that guy at 37 is because they gave up the first round pick for a dud of a player in Christian Wood that the coach didn't want, who I think has some talent, but the coach clearly didn't see it that way.
Right.
So it was never going to work. So you gave up your chance to have Jaden Hardy under contract for 4 years, and now you got him for 3. You got to pay him earlier when you could have just had him and drafted him at 26. But I say all that to say, don't do the stupid thing, man. Do the very simple thing. Draft the player that's going to be in front of you and go from there.
Sure. Well, thanks, man, for hanging out.
Of course, dude. Thank you guys for having me, man.
Of course. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. Coming up next, then, I just need to read the stat line. After 13 minutes of action, roughly 18 minutes of game time in the Los Angeles Lakers Denver Nuggets first round matchup, Nikola Jokic has played 13 minutes. He has scored 10 points, grabbed 14 rebounds, and has 5 assists. What in the actual fuck is this man? He is insane. Okay, coming up next, I'm going to bring a pair of guys, and we're going to let each of them talk a little more. They're 2 of my Mavs Moneyball contributors. We're really grateful for their contributions. We have first editor Ben Zadell, and then internet legend Xavier, who is still on McDonald's Wi-Fi.
What's up, Kirk? What's up, Josh?
How are we doing, team? What are we thinking? Ben, why don't you go first?
I'm very upset. I thought the Mavs were going to at least move up. I went to La Madeleine's, a French restaurant, instead of getting carne asada. So I'm really mad because I had like a croque monsieur instead of carne asada to try and give this team some sort of juice, some sort of luck that apparently God has like taken away from them forever. So like I don't know, man. Like I probably should be a lot more happy than I am because they kept their stupid pick, but I just know they're gonna do something dumb with it. So I don't know, man.
Did you do the gambler's fallacy thing where you're like, now is the time? Like whenever I play blackjack?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So good for Wimby. I guess, San Antonio, cool place, dirty Riverwalk. Will remind him of the Riverwalk in Paris, I guess. I don't know. I'm fully out on Wimby. I wish nothing but hate for him. So would have loved to have him on the Mavs. But hey, that's where I'm at right now. So
I have to
maybe
share
this has already been rehashed or something because
no,
I've
it's
been
fine.
writing, so
It's perfectly fine. Friend of the show, Jazz of it's 77 Spaces has this incredibly insane tweet. Wemby is going to hate San Antonio, but it might feel like home because the river stank and so does France. And you know what? That's the kind of generational hate I can get behind. Xavier,
Exactly.
what's going on with you? Because you were here with us earlier, piping, pitching some thoughts. What's going on now that you've had time to think?
The hatred that I have for Kyrie Irving has only grown.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you know what, you just haven't been on much lately to talk about Kyrie. That's good stuff. Let's go with it.
He's probably the only player where my hatred for him extends beyond sports hate. He's not the intellectual that he thinks he is. But for
Neither
today,
am I, but people like me.
Let's keep it to basketball for today. I just heard the previous guest, and he said, man, if we don't sign Kyrie Irving, man, this is really bad for us. And I'm like, why do we want Kyrie Irving? He doesn't have a market. The only player who really wants him on his team is LeBron, and that's because he won a title with him however many years.
And it doesn't even seem like he really wants him now because the Lakers realized what they should have done was they fucked up after the 2020 title. They didn't understand why they won. They did just what the Mavericks did and got to the Western Conference Finals, and they made themselves worse. Now they know how to win.
They're going to choose Austin Reeves over Kyrie Irving. Say that sentence out loud again. They're going to choose Austin Reeves over.
Which they should. $12.5 million for a starter is fine, not 35.
So why should we then go and sign him, who the Lakers will not prioritize over Austin fucking Reeves, and give him this contract? And then we think that if he leaves, look, we made our bed, we got to lie in it. But Kyrie Irving, just by re-signing him, A, he's injury prone. B, by having him on the team, it makes our margin of error razor fucking thin, because when your two best players are negative defenders, there's only but so many prototypes that you can surround them with. And all the people that I hear, we can get maybe that person or that person. What you need is a world-class rim protector. Those guys don't grow on trees. Then we need world-class 3-and-D wings. Only the rarest commodity in the entire fucking league. So great. To build around Kyrie and Luka, we need some of the rarest commodities on the planet with very limited, if any, assets to go acquire those very limited assets. Like, what are we talking about here? Look at the Phoenix Suns. Look at the team that they have. They depleted their wing depth in order to trade for KD. Fine. They have two quote-unquote stars. Why did they lose? Because they didn't have enough rim protection. They didn't have any wing defense, and they didn't have any depth. Guess what we lack? The very same thing. So in a best-case scenario, we're trying to build a worse version of what the Suns have, and they just got wiped off the fucking floor. Like, what are we hoping for here? And then we're saying, well, okay, let's draft a player at 10. Look, this is like you gambling your entire 401k and then deciding, all right, now is the time to start building with pace, to do things patiently. That's the car's already out the garage. We can't build slowly. We can't. If you want to build slowly, then you got to trade Luka. You got to tear it down, trade everything not nailed down to the ground, and then rebuild slowly. But with the current roster that we have, this is a broken team. There is no way to build this broken team slowly into something real anytime in the near future. And the idea that we can do that, I don't know. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. We're not going to build this piece by adding marginal piece after marginal piece. And then what? We do that how many times in a row to where now we're actually a serious contender? We have a flaw. We cannot defend.
Yeah.
But what are you going to get? But you just said the 10th pick isn't even that as valuable as we think. So what the alternative is, what are you going to get with 10 that's going to make that much more of a difference when you've already said the 10th isn't that valuable?
At this point, we literally have to just chuck half court shots and pray that we can catch lightning in a bottle, which is not, I will admit, that's not a good strategy. But at this point, there is no good, viable strategy, right? Do we trust this front office to build through the draft? Let's say we have the 10th pick. Do we think that we have the scouting department that's going to find the best player available at 10? I don't, right? And like Kirk just said, we do linear thinking. There are ways to get creative and do things. Do we have any confidence that this front office is capable of any outside the box thinking to maximize whatever the value is of the 10th pick? Do you think we're going to find a way to maximize it? I have no faith in them. And so if this is our last bullet, it's like, okay, you have one bullet, now go take out an army. Like, I just feel like, honestly, I'm just going to say this, we're fucked. And I think we keep trying to deceive ourselves into thinking that we're not fucked, and we are royally fucked. And it's like, step one is to accept it. Let's accept that we are screwed. Now we have two options. The question is, do we think we can salvage this team in a short enough window to where we can maximize Luka, or is this beyond repair? And do we need to trade Luka and start building the next?
I don't think they'll trade Luka. I also think that the answer is you have to.
Who do we take at? Who's going to be there at 10? I think that's. I just don't think it's of any consequence.
You have to start somewhere.
I think you take the risk of pissing him off and start from scratch and do some building, because otherwise you're going to end up where you're trying to avoid. I still think, the more I think about it, the question of the money, a lot of Slovenians will probably tell me tomorrow when they wake up and hear this that Luka doesn't care about the money. I'm sorry. I don't know anybody that leaves 9 figures on the table to go into free agency.
Yeah.
And you also cannot, other teams cannot trade for him without pulling the old Carmelo Anthony in 2013. Which essentially strip mined the Knicks when all he had to do was wait until free agency to go to the Knicks. And, he didn't do that. And so I don't know. I understand your argument. For the better part of 4 years, have been staring down the barrel of the we're fucked point of view. That's kind of been my mantra. And I think the first way out of, what's the first rule of holes? Stop digging when you're in one. And so they're in one right now, and there's a couple of ways they can't stop. You've made a lot of interesting points, and I think things we're going to have to talk about as the offseason goes on. The Kyrie Irving of it all is particularly interesting. Do they outbid themselves against no one? That's going to be what do you do if you get Kyrie for, 4 years and $25 million? Do you not total, but per year? Is that something that's more interesting as opposed to whatever he's eligible for the max, which is it's a 5-year, $270 million max. It is bananas. You don't bid it. And the Mavericks have sort of come out early, and we've not heard anything, but they know that he doesn't have his ton of options. So it's a matter of how do you not piss the guy off, but also how do you pay him some money? So it's going to be interesting is where I'm at. Ben,
and the problem with Kyrie is that then now they're pot committed because they've already given up a first rounder, and they traded Dorian and they traded Spencer. So if you let Kyrie walk, it's like you've really hit the reset button on your roster, which, I don't really necessarily think it would be the worst thing in the world, but that's probably part of their thinking too, is they've already traded, it's not like they're signing this guy off it's from another team. They've already invested a lot. They probably could have spun a first and Dorian and Spencer for maybe something else. I don't know if it would be as a player at Kyrie's caliber, but though they are limited trade ammo and they use some of it already. So now it's like you let that guy walk. I don't, that's if they want to start fresh and rebuild, I'm okay with that because they kind of need a reset. But I don't know what their line of thinking is going to go into that.
So you hit a point of diminishing returns on the offense with Kyrie, as we saw the last whatever 20, 30 games. You need something besides the offense. And again, I don't think it's that hard to put some quality pieces around it. Maybe not enough to put you over, but at least, I mean, we've seen Luka take a not great team to the Western Conference Finals. So, I mean, I just don't think you need to swing some huge home run trade or some home run signing. You just need some quality pieces around.
If they win 5 more games, which they could have, minus because Luka didn't make any game-winning shots. They were terrible, and it's like just a couple of things in the right direction, and they're convincing themselves they're better than they are, which is a different problem than what we're talking about here. Either way, they have a lot of work cut out for them, and that's kind of what the bottom line is. And the point Xavier made about, do you have confidence? I don't, but I also don't really know what else to do, because being a shit isn't very, that has diminishing returns too. Because I mean, I'm negative, but people don't want to hear negative all the time. You know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, Matthew brought this up earlier. They just have to, regardless if they trade the pick or if they keep the pick, they just have to win some moves.
Yes.
They have stacked losing transaction after losing transaction just over and over the last 4 years. KP trade ended up not working out. Josh Richardson trade did not work. They pissed away 2019 free agency. Where are the wins in the last 4 years? It's like Hardy. It's like maybe Josh Green. Seth Curry actually played really well for them, but then they traded him. Like, they don't have anything to show for it. Like, they just have, like, the Christian Wood trade, that's a loss. Like, they just keep taking L's on all these transactions, whether it's a free agent signing or a trade. So at the end of the day, my philosophy is lean towards build toward the draft. But if they can win the trade, the point is if they trade a 10th pick, it has to be an overwhelming positive. Yeah. They won this move. Like, they have, like Kirk said, they have to stop the bleeding. You can't keep making all these decisions on top of each other where you lose. Like, their 2019 free agency was Boban, DeLon Wright, and Seth Curry, and they have literally nothing. They're actually in the negative from that because they had to give up second rounders to get off DeLon Wright. They have nothing to show from the 2019 offseason. So they just have to start winning some moves.
We're like the Blazers. Remember that Blazers team that made that Western Conference Finals run? And I brought it up in the Slack a couple times. They thought, we just made the Western Conference Finals. We're a piece away. So what they do? They go out and they trade 2-3 picks for Robert Covington. They start re-signing CJ McCollum to this long-term deal. They double down on their often injured center. They start overpaying and taking these wild swings because they were under the impression that if we just hit a single or maybe a double, we can go from Western Conference Finals team to possibly having a legit chance of winning the title. And that's the problem with the Mavericks. The reason that the fandom keeps talking about these moves on the margin is because they keep thinking we're that team that made the Western Conference Finals last year. We're not that team. We're so far removed from being that team. And also, in a normal year, that team probably doesn't make it to the Western Conference Finals. So we have to be more self-aware and say, okay, what are we? We're not a marginal piece away from being a contender. Honestly, what we need is a rebuild. And, the most popular thing, right, is tearing it down. Why? Because it offers the fan base hope and it guarantees job security for whoever the front office is. Because then it's like, the thing from Family Guy. Hey, do you want a boat or do you want the shoebox? Oh, well, it could be anything. It might even be both, right? But that hope is something that you can sell to fans, and that's something that you can maybe sell to Luka and say, look, if we give you a blank canvas, let's work together and help us paint that canvas. Let's just wipe away all of our mistakes that we've made the past couple years, and you tell us, what do you want? You know what I'm saying? And then maybe that earns his loyalty. Or maybe he says, you know what? No, I've seen enough. But I just think we got to tear it down. That's my pessimistic view.
Well, I do appreciate the takes. Ben, you got anything else?
No, just want to apologize to La Madeline. It's actually a lovely restaurant, and I like eating there. So I was just angry. I'm sorry, La Madeline. You're good.
You two are great. Thanks for joining the show. We'll talk soon. Okay, we're going to go to Jacob next. And again, guys, if you want to chat, we're going to hang out. I'm going to hang out for at least another half hour. We don't, this will probably be, we'll do one more live show this week, but this is the last big show until draft night. So, I don't mind hanging out every now and again. So Jacob, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Hey, Kirk, it's been a while. I'm I'll just start off by saying that, yeah, I'm just happy that we kept the pick. I think it's a dub. It really would have been the end times if our luck would have continued with, moving down in the draft and getting bumped out. And also, I can't believe no one's mentioned this yet. Rip to those bozos in Houston for moving down to 4.
They need a point guard too. It's like they're just in such a they've had all these high lottery picks, and like, have any of them panned out at all?
No, not since Hakeem. I don't know, but I do feel bad for the Pistons too. I'll say that's the kind of luck I was expecting for us.
Sure. 1 to 5 is a brutal fall, but they have such a solid base that I don't feel too badly for them. Jalen Duren is incredible, and so is who's the guy they had this year? They shut him down.
Jaden Ivey.
I love Ivy. That dude is fast. So it's what are you gonna do?
And if Cade stays healthy, yeah, there'll be a problem. But as for us, I mean, I want us to take the pick seriously, at least scout for drafting, right? I mean, that's not, I don't think that's asking for too much before we inevitably trade it for Jordan Poole or some shit like that. But that's a joke. I hope we don't do that. But
right.
I'm not going to pretend.
God, Jordan Poole, I didn't fucking think about that. Thanks for putting that thought into my mind. My God.
Jordan Poole or Duncan Robinson or something. No, but I'm not going to pretend to be a scout and know which champion for a guy. I've never watched a UCF game, so I don't know about that guy, there. Or I've watched Kansas games because I'm a Longhorn fan, but I felt like anytime that we played Kansas, Grady Dick didn't really jump off the screen to me. I don't know. It's pretty much what Josh was saying. He sold me on keeping the pick too. I think just us keeping the pick was kind of sort of get rich quick scheme. At least we have an asset now. So,
yeah. And another. Oh, go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was gonna say another thing. I feel like some people against keeping the pick. I feel like people are equating the 10th pick to the 28th pick. Like the Mavericks, Jaden Hardy as a rookie already looks like a building block. He was the 37th pick. Josh Green took 3 years, but he was the 18th pick. The 10th pick can be someone giving you real minutes in the playoffs as early as his second year, maybe even as early as his rookie season, as we've seen from some other. The 10th pick is not you're not getting a project that's going to take 4 years to be good. If you have trust your scouting, trust your player development, and you make the right choice. But I don't like to think of the 10th pick that's this building block project. They're going to be drafting a guy that they have to teach how to play basketball. There will be a good, talented player that can give them minutes from game 1 available at 10. Now will they get that guy? I don't know. That's why, you trade, people like to trade because you trade for a known quantity. But the idea that the 10th pick is this spinning of the wheel, all drafting is spinning of a lottery wheel, but it's just, I don't know. There's just a difference between picking 10 and picking where the Mavericks have normally picked in the last 20 years. They're always picking toward the bottom of the draft.
Right.
So I don't know. I just wanted to make that point. 10, they can get a player that's not going to take 4 years at 10. They can get a player that can play right away and be a useful player.
Yep.
Yeah. There's not a drop off. There's not that big of a drop off, overstated drop off.
Well, we're going to learn. I mean, that's what the next several, the next, what is it? 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 4? That's more or less what we're going to figure out, where it's I look at this and I'm looking at Tankathon's first mock and it gives me, I'm concerned. I don't really want Keontae George, Jordan Hawkins, Nick Smith Jr., Cason Wallace. I want a big person. The Mavericks need size. That's what stood out to me towards the end of the year because they traded. Dorian Finney-Smith was doing yeoman's work, holding down 3, 4, 5 position at a certain point. And you trade him away and you just don't have any size, and they're not going to go get more size in the market. Robbie Lewis in the chat asks, you're going to go get Derek Lively. I just don't know if you can take a risk with the center because like bigs don't develop at the same rate that guards do because they don't get the opportunities. Playing defense as an NBA level big is also much harder than it is playing as a guard because you have more responsibility. You have to cover the perimeter and the paint. And it's tough. I'm worried.
Yeah,
I'm worried as we talk more. I started the chat very positive. How's that? And now I'm just like, oh no.
I mean, hey, we've said it. I don't know how many times. It's not like the front office has given us any reason to be optimistic about any draft that we're in. Any of these calculated moves that we supposedly are. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do.
The only 10th pick that I think that's worked out in the past 10 years is Mikal Bridges. And so if we're basing it off of that, then yeah, it's definitely scary. But as Josh was saying, there's not that much of an overstated talent difference between the top 4 and 10, I don't think. So yeah, you can get a guy that would contribute. I don't want Kid to throw him in the doghouse as soon as he fucks up once or twice. You're just gonna have to be patient with a young player like that. Not everybody's gonna be polished like Bane was coming out of TCU because he was a senior, I think. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. We need Frank at this point. It doesn't matter how we get it. But yes, we need help in the front court, and I mean we
need better players.
Yeah, easier said than done. Yeah, but it's the whole fan base has identified that problem of there being just no size, us getting dominated on the boards, not having any interior presence at all, no rim protection. Surely Nico and Kid and they all have too as well. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see what they're cooking up, and I think if they make the wrong move, we'll probably know it immediately at this point.
That's true.
So,
well, thanks, man. Appreciate you hanging out.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right. I'll take a short break here just to remind everybody, if you could do me a favor and go like the stream, and also go subscribe to our channel if you have not. We got 3 people left, and we're going to fly through them because we're at over an hour. And I think my wife is thoroughly annoyed with me. Josh's wife is a saint as well. Sam, what's up, my guy? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Kurt? Can you hear me?
I can. You are calling us from the basement of this is your deep throat. This is Watergate. We only see the shine of your head. What's going on?
Oh, well, yeah, if you call it avoiding your girlfriend because she sent you to get some food and you got the food, but you wanted to talk about the Mavericks because you're
my man, that's what we call chat loyalty. Thank you.
So, yeah, I'll be quick, though. I guess I'm happy that we did keep the 10th pick, all things considered. I let myself believe. I don't know why that we were going to jump into the top 4. It didn't happen. So that's neither here nor there. The only problem that I have is you pretty much said it. Xavier said it. Josh said it. Is the front office, because last year they got Christian Wood for the 26th pick pretty much, and it was pretty obvious from day one that Jason Kidd didn't want him, or somebody didn't want him because he was in the doghouse. Well, I won't say doghouse, but from day one, Jason Kidd just didn't play him the way we thought he should have played him, even though he has his deficiencies on defense. He just didn't want him on the roster, and it just lingered the whole season to now where more than likely he's not coming back. So my concern is it going to be is the front office, are they all intertwined, if that makes sense? Are they all going to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is the plan, and this is what we're going to stick to, and this is what we're going to do? Because we can't have, like Josh said, we can't have this Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket where, we snap our fingers and this happens and everything's good. Because obviously we're at the point now where everything is shit. Like, we're having to worry about Luka. We shouldn't worry about that. If you're an organization that can stand on his morals, if he goes, fuck it, he goes. You got to do what you do to make sure the team is competitive to win for him. And if he agrees with that, great. If he doesn't, let him go. Tough shit at this point, because we've bowed down to him. We've literally done everything I feel like we can do for this man, and we've lost every trade in the last 4 years. Obviously, a lot a lot of them have been in hindsight, but
we talked ourselves into a fair amount of this shit. I've been doing this show for too long, and I remember being, oh yeah, you know what, JaVale McGee might be fine. You know what?
I thought the Josh Richardson trade was a home run.
God, we loved that, and it was so fucking terrible.
Yeah,
literally have nothing. They've a pick and a play. They have nothing from that on the roster.
See what the Christian Wood trade. I don't remember how I reacted, but I was just like, "Are we serious with this?" That's what I remember thinking, but I could be wrong.
You also know more people that did not like Christian.
Oh, every single person under the sun was like, "LOL, fucking Mavericks," and it's like, well, that can't be good,
right? And of course, as a Mavericks fan, you said, you know what? I mean, JaVale McGee was good on the Warriors in 2018, and he was good on the Lakers when they won the championship in the bubble. You know, we could do that for like 15 minutes, but obviously, within 10 games, it was a shit show. So, you know, at this point, I don't know what else we can do except, I mean, I'd rather just keep the pick, just draft somebody, and just develop it with Luka, because we can obviously look at Dorian. Dorian was okay. Then he got Luka. Then he was putting up career numbers every year. Then he leaves, and God, he disappeared in Brooklyn. Which, I mean, that just shows right there what Luka can do he's a floor raiser. Luka is a floor raiser. Without Luka, we're looking at a 21 team instead of a potentially 51 team.
I want to give you guys a halftime stat from this Laker game that is still at halftime. Nikola Jokic, 16 rebounds. Los Angeles Lakers, 17 rebounds. Holy Christ. 19, 16, and 7 for a half. Really, wow. Don't even know what to say to that. Well, Sam, thank you very much for hanging out and waiting.
All right, not a problem. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, talk soon.
All right.
Okay, coming up next is Simon, who has been patiently waiting for a very long time. Simon, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Hey, can you guys hear me?
I can. You sound good.
Here we are. Okay, good. Oh yeah, man. I've been trying to get into this chat for a while. Been having problems, and even tonight, but I'm finally glad I broke through. So my pre-lottery take on the Mavs was, obviously if they get 1 through 2, you keep the pick because you can get Wemby or Brandon Miller. I think would have been a guy who could step in and help right away. If they would have gotten 3 through 4, I would have said trade that pick, because with a 3 through 4 slot, they could have really probably gotten some value that could have helped them next year. I don't know if you're really going to get that with the 10th pick, so you might as well just keep it and take a flyer. Now, I just went and looked at the last 5 10th overall picks. Johnny Davis, who's failed spectacularly.
The poor Washington Wizards.
In my neck of the woods in D.C., yeah. I think Zaire Williams, who's done nothing of note that I can think of. Jalen Smith, who was brought up earlier by another caller. Cam Reddish, and then Mikal Bridges, right? So it really could go either way. So I don't know, and I don't watch a lot of college basketball, so I don't know anything about this guy from UCF or who's Anthony Black. I don't even know where he went to school. So I really have no opinion on that. Now, the one thing I will tend to disagree with most of Mavs fandom on is I tend to be a lot higher on DeAndre Ayton than what I'm feeling from a lot of the other callers. I think it's obvious that he's completely disillusioned with his situation in Phoenix, right? Because of the way they handled his contract. I know him and Luka have the same agent, right? They do. I've seen like videos of them. They do seem to have like some rapport. I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have, but the point the Mavericks right now is they need 2 things. They need size and they need talent. And he has both of those. I mean, upgrading to him, from JaVale McGee and Dwight Powell, the talent, athleticism, and size upgrade is just too much to not at least look into. Now, you guys probably know better than I do, what kind of trade package Dallas can put together to bring him in. I mean, I don't know. Would it involve Kyrie Irving? I mean, if it doesn't, it's obviously probably going to have to involve the 10th pick and then some some cap fire. I
Yeah.
mean, Phoenix does. They need bodies. They just didn't have a lot in that series versus Denver. Who on the Mavs roster would qualify as such? I don't know. I don't, like you said. You made the point about them making only linear moves. So I don't really know how they could go about acquiring him without giving up, I guess, Kyrie, right? I think that would be a little bit self-defeating because I don't think Luka and DeAndre Ayton is enough. But if you can come in next year with Kyrie, Luka, and DeAndre, okay, then I think you have at least some sort of a talent foundation where your top three guys in terms of their talent level can compete with other teams' top three. And then how you go about putting together the rest of the roster, that falls in the front office. But it's like you said, the Mavs are in a hole. The moves they've made over the past 5 years have put them in this position where they don't have a lot of assets. They really, have no choice but to try to swing for the fences, right? There's just not a lot of singles and doubles moves out there that they can really make, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's this is better than losing. This is better than losing the pick, but there's still just a lot of big question marks that I don't think the rest of us have confidence that the Mavericks will answer. Is sort of where we're at right now. Now we have 5 weeks to get irrationally excited about players we've only seen YouTube videos of. I, for one, can't wait because I just love having firm takes about guys I've watched 4 times. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, one more quick thing, and then I'll head
Sure.
out. So I'm watching this game right now, right? And I'm watching, Rui Hachimura. Okay, Rui Hachimura was I think the 9th pick.
Yep.
In 2019, and the Wizards essentially they gave up on him. They traded him, for because they didn't want to pay him in the offseason. And the thinking was, I think, from their perspective, in his 4 years that he was there, his game sort of stagnated, right? He didn't really show much improvement from where he was when he came in to where he was at the point that they traded him. And now I'm watching him on the Lakers, and he looks like he's obviously a rotation caliber player. He's knocking down his open shots. He can position himself on the block. He's got size. He's got athleticism. But the Wizards decided that they're better off with Denny Avdia.
Right.
So part of it, I think my point is that part of picking a guy in that sort of area of the draft is it does matter a lot, the situation that he's coming into. And with Hatchimer in particular, it based on the Wizards already fired their general manager, so I'm assuming that's part of it. I'm sure they're looking, ownership is looking at the way he's playing with the Lakers and wondering why, the Wizards couldn't get that out of him. So that's the other part of this equation for the Mavericks is if they do keep that pick and they take somebody, are they going to find, a role for him early on where he's able to develop in a short period of time to being a rotation caliber piece come the playoffs? Because that's really what you're hoping for when you're drafting number 10.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for waiting and hanging out to talk to us, Simon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Talk soon. Okay. Coming up next is my man Leo. Then we got Alex, and then we're gonna go. Leo, what's up, man?
Hey, a quick question for both of y'all. What is the goal for next year for both of you? Thinking that we take the pick or do a trade? Because in my mind, a lot of the people who are saying we need to do a trade are trying to get into winning mode, contention mode next year. Whereas I, as someone who wants to keep the pick, is thinking about a 2-3 year plan of, okay, what if we get a rookie that's just usable, who has defensive mind tendencies or something offensively, like an offensive profile that you can show off, and then trade that for next year and then just try to build on that? Because what else can we do? Because if we trade for a player next year, we already have really bad books. And if we're trying to keep Aiden with Kyrie and Luka, do we just want the NBA media to just talk about how bad our vibes are and how everyone's pouting on the bench?
Yeah.
Is Jason Kidd going to help with that?
I think so, to a degree. He's not had a lot of time to put his stamp on the roster outside of McGee, as much of a prick move as that sounds like, that's sort of the truth. I think that my sort of goal for the team would be to just get back into playoff contention. The Mavericks were 4th in the West at one point, and then they finished at 10th. So you change a couple of games, you do a few things different, and maybe the Mavericks are in a better place. I mean, Luka was not great after. I'm trying to that 7-game stretch where he went for 37 points, and the Mavericks won a bunch of games, or the 7-in-a-row streak. That really took all the wind out of his sails, and then he sort of struggled to play the rest of the year. The Mavericks just couldn't defend. So it makes me wonder if a couple of things go differently. They've got to get off. Josh and I have talked about this for 3 straight years. They have to get off to a better start. They cannot fuck around at the start of the year. And that's going to be, the first month of the season is going to tell me where this team goes. I'm tired of hearing how Jason Kidd wants to experiment and all this stuff. If your experiment is playing JaVale McGee, you suck at this. So that's sort of my standard is I would like to see them get off to a better start. Josh, what about you?
I think just avoid the play-in would be my goal.
Sure,
Finish in the top.
Okay.
Finish in the top 6 and then go from there. Because again, this was such a historically bad season that literally never happens. I wrote about this and I've been saying this a bunch. Teams with 24-year-old MVP candidates do not miss the playoffs. It doesn't happen. Look at NBA history. This just doesn't happen. It's very, very rare. Everyone he's in company with in terms of the 4 all first teams in first 5 years, all those guys were playoff or better or winning titles or going to the finals or conference finals. So when they were 24. So, I don't know if they can make the jump to contender in one off season because they've got so many things that they have to fix, but they can't go through another chasing 500. Cause think about this season. They never felt like a confidently solid team. Even that 7-game win streak. I mean, they played the Rockets twice and the Spurs. Almost all of those wins were against bad teams or teams that were playing really poorly at the time. It was the Lakers before they made all those trades and they still had Westbrook. It's they need to have a season where they're not just chasing 500 or hovering around 5. They need to be a solid team because if they miss the playoffs again, they get another pick and they can they might get some more time. But they can't afford to do that again. Then you're really you're putting bad vibes in the universe with Luka. So they need to get back up on the horse. They need to get into the playoffs, be a solid playoff team. Don't make the play-in. They were close, despite this season, like Kirk said, every single game I felt like from March and April was a clutch game. So I just want them to they just need to be better, be a top 6 team and then go from there. And that will help their reputation a little bit too. And when we talk about roster building,
that's right. That's right.
Excuse me.
Leo, you got anything else for us?
A final thing, just to put good vibes out in the universe. If Luka is as smart and as dedicated as we think he is, we're gonna see what he changes about his game at the when he plays in September, August this year, because his injuries are also caused by overwork, but the guy has to figure out how to shoot an open shot with the defender not near him, because if he keeps on driving to the basket, he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Of course, Leo. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Our man coming in next. Let's go to Alex. Welcome to the show, Alex. How you doing?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, just to also bring some positive vibes. I don't see the 10 pick as just the past 10 picks because last year Jalen Williams was 12th and Tyrese Haliburton was 12th also when the Phoenix picked, and we all knew
great points.
Also Kawhi was 15, Bam was 14, Donovan Mitchell I think was 13. I don't know. So just if we all only the thing is, do we trust the Mavs to pick the right player and is he available at 10? I don't know.
I think that's right. I still have the question that I think is fair is less about the players and more about, do the Mavericks have what it takes to do this? And they just haven't invested in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a fairly small front office. They have a lot of homework to do. We know from previous years the draft is hard. and they just have a lot of work ahead, I think is my takeaway.
Yeah, yeah, and also like if they do trade it, like it can be like for a mid guy. I don't know, like because like the what we think it's Aiton, or I don't think they have enough for OG, which will be like amazing, but I don't know what they can get if they trade, like if they pack the 10th pick and the 2027. I don't know what could they get, but
Right.
we need a lot of help. But yeah,
Workouts
just
are going to be
some
really
thoughts.
important. And one of the things I'm curious about, this drove me crazy when Donnie Nelson was GM, is we simply never heard about what the
Mm-hmm.
Mavericks were doing or who they were talking to. Whereas the Los Angeles Lakers they flooded the zone with every single person they brought in for like workouts. I want that for us. I want to overreact to every person we hear about them interviewing. That part's fun. Like wish casting and wondering who they're talking about is fucking boring. Let's like just go nuts and bring in all these different dudes and we'll see what happens.
Also, well, at least we're not gonna have like a Nico needs to, let's see what Nico can do in the draft, because like past years it's all been like because the last like real draft it was like Josh Green, which was a disaster between Donny and Bob, which
I mean, that
at
was a
least
bad draft for
yeah,
everyone in hindsight, like not just the
and
Mavericks.
and maybe I don't know if I trust Bob more with the draft, because I did hear he was targeting Tyrese Haliburton with that trade with Brunson, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was.
Let's hope.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for joining, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, let's go. Last not least, my man in Australia, Rain. How you doing, Rain?
Don't know what to do.
Sure.
I don't know what the right path is. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That's the Dallas
You know,
Mavericks for you.
I see the point in trying to rebuild for the draft, but I don't think you can do that with one 10th pick. And if we lose the pick next year to the Knicks, how do you build through the draft that way if you're losing your picks? And yeah, I'm going to be honest. I came because of Luka to Dallas. That's why I started watching. So I probably have a little bit of bias there, where I'm probably a little bit more Luka centric than Dallas Mavericks centric in my strategies of what I think they should or shouldn't do.
Yep.
And I wouldn't personally be super opposed to them going, say, fuck it, convince Luka, hey, we're going to try and keep the pick for the next 2 years and try and rebuild for the draft. I would be not super pleased about that, but if it pays off in the long run, but I don't think you can convince Luka of that, to say we're going to take the easy road for maybe the next 2 or 3 years and take it easy, take the foot off the gas. On the other hand, I don't think they have the assets even with a top 10 pick. Yes, I think there are other teams who might value who you could get at 10 more than the Mavs could, but are we going to be able to say get Jared Allen with the 10th pick? Probably not.
I like,
So,
but that's fun. It's like, what do you know? What teams are desperate? Like, what? That's like, you're touching on interesting stuff though, and that's where we get to see: are the Mavericks linear, or have they learned? Are they wheeling and dealing because Nico's making phone calls and Michael Finley's finally doing his job, or is this still the Mark Cuban show?
I think we all know the real answer to that.
Well, I mean, you never know, because I really do think he let Bob Haralabob run things for a while. I really do. I mean, Haralabob swears he wasn't involved in the Kristaps Porzingis trade, but I think that draft in 2020 it was his.
Well, yeah, I would think he might have been the only person left in the room to make the pick, from what I understand. So, yeah, I don't know what we do. I mean, I was super high on Taylor Hendricks, but apparently everyone's super high on him. So I don't think any of the players that I was enthusiastic about at 10, when there was the chance that we keep 10, I don't think any of those players I was enthusiastic about are going to be there. That doesn't mean there isn't going to be talent there. Again, like everyone else has probably said, do we trust Nico or the Mavs to be able to do that? I think, as we've also been said, maybe the one thing we can count on Jason Kidd to do is develop the players. And if his tenure brings us develops Jalen Hardy, Josh Green, and whoever this 10th pick or whoever they take is, I will at least see some positive outcome in his tenure, despite all the other bullshit we've had to deal with. Though, I mean, with the carousel of coaches that are available, I would also prefer if they really evaluated the front office and everyone else there and went, actually, do we want, coach of the year or do we want Jason Kidd? But again, that's also not likely going to happen. It kind of felt like lip service to me when Nico said everyone's under evaluation, because it seemed like he was maybe saying, hey, I have some fault. But it seems like Jason Kidd is basically, the tribe has spoken. He's got immunity. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what they do. I don't really know who's going to be available at 10. Grady Dick doesn't seem like something that helps the Mavericks at all. And on the point of someone earlier was speaking about why do we want Kyrie? We don't. But we're kind of fucked if we don't as well.
Sure.
So, like, with what we've given up and the amount of cap space we would have if we don't re-sign him, we're not going to be able to sign shit anyway.
Yeah.
So it's better to.
Oh, did we lose him? My internet might have slowed.
No, I think we did. Oh,
there he is.
Kind of fuzzing it.
We're having some fun internet with you, Rain.
Yeah, Australian internet sucks shit.
Hey, I think it's pretty cool we're talking at all. But
okay, so, like when I lived in New Zealand, I'd have a gigabyte up, a gigabyte down. Here, I get 100 at most. It's terrible. So I'm surprised it stayed disconnected. I don't know what you guys heard, but I think I was saying, who we can get with Kyrie's cap space, and if he just shows up for one playoff game and wins us maybe one playoff game, it's worth it. Who gives a fuck if he misses half the regular season? I mean, we do give a fuck, but neither here nor there.
Well,
anyway,
thank you for hanging out with us tonight or today in your show part of the world.
Yeah, I've got the rest of the day to stew on this and figure out what the fuck do we do.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
No, I see you guys. Thank you.
Sure. Josh, you got any parting thoughts?
I don't know. Just they just need to. The fun part now begins. We can start zeroing in on guys at 10. We could start wish casting trades if we want to. It's still projecting, but it's not as much projecting because that land where technically they could still lose the pick. Like we're at least past that. Like we're past that part.
Yep.
So we can kind of move on. But yeah, I think it's coming down to which team building philosophy do you prefer? Like it's just, do you want to slow and steady or do you want to cash in the chips, try to win now?
Or are they already dead and do we just not fucking know it?
Right.
Like is this the TV show Lost where everyone was it was all in their heads? Like I don't know. I'm trying not to be too pessimistic about it because nobody really wants to listen to that, but it is a little concerning. I do think the money stuff with Luka is going to be worth thinking about more and more. How much money and the Mavericks can improve. And also it's they finished the season 38 and 44. Was that the final? The difference between 38 and 44 and 45 and 37 is 8 games. And can the Mavericks win 8 more games? I don't know. I think they could. A couple of
lost
slight
about
changes.
30 clutch games. So
right.
Can you
so
get
it's like
8 of those?
You're playing a little different. Yeah. So, but everybody, I'm afraid I have to go. It has been a long evening for us here at Mavs Moneyball, and we still got some more work to do. So I apologize for that. But thank you so much for hanging out with over 2 hours worth of live shows. I'll be back probably Friday daytime. I'm going to take a vacation day from work. So we can have more reactions and thoughts and hang out in here a little bit. So everybody, please subscribe to the show on YouTube, subscribe on podcasts if you're listening that way, and just leave comments, that sort of thing. We've had a good run tonight. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. You guys are the best. We'll talk soon, and go Mavs.